JC, for keeping us in the know with the sport we all love. The history on sports is amazing. Next, we move on to World War I and the trench warfare technique that was used during this time. We have Jordan Wellman with the report.
Thank you, Shelby. I'm reporting from World War I in the trenches. Life in the trenches is not an easy life. Our soldiers stand in knee-high mud and water while being fired upon by enemy soldiers nonstop. Also, the smell in the trenches is terrible, with all the rotting bodies and pure body odor, where the soldiers have no facilities to bathe. Now, with all this stated, they still had to deal with rats and daily diseases like trench warfare, which is spread through the soldiers from lice. Now we will show some live footage from the trenches.
Hey, he's coming!
What is it? Oh God! What is it? What is it? This is World War I. What is this? Oh God! I'll just watch and see when to pop up.
That's it! He's behind you! Oh.
Boom!
Yeah, go America!
Bang! Sniper!
Hope you make it home okay, Jordan. Moving on to our next story, we have Eric Fowler with the story of Charles Lindbergh and the Spirit of St. Louis.
Charles started his flight at 7 a.m. from New York to Paris, the first ever transatlantic flight. After 33 hours of flight and many problems later, he finally touched down. And after he got back to New York City, he earned the Medal of Valor from the... How you doing, Charles?
Hey.
Do you care if I get an interview with you?
No.
Okay.
Let's go.
How do you feel after your wonderful flight across the Atlantic?
I feel amazing. I feel like I did a lot of great things for aviation. I feel like I really put, planes out there. People actually kind of trust them a little more. I just feel great.
Did you have any problems with the flight?
I had to fly really low to the ground because there were some issues with the icing. Got some ice in the wings and kind of made it a little shaky, and I had a lot of trouble navigating. I just had a little bit of trouble, but nothing I couldn't overcome.
Sounds very wonderful. Well, the world will never forget this flight that you had. I'll let you get back to the celebration. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Rachel Walker is up next with the story of the Panama Canal. Rachel?
President Roosevelt felt the need of a strategic passage to get ships from the West Coast naval bases to the East Coast naval bases. The current passage forced ships to sail around South America to the East Coast. Roosevelt said if Panama rebels would revolt, the U.S. Navy would support their cause. Once the rebels had won, they returned the favor to allow the use of the canal. The U.S. took control of the French property on May 4, 1904. The lock-based schemes used on the passage and construction was continued by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. On October 7th, the Alexandre Lavallee, an old French crane boat, became the first ship to make a complete transit of the Panama Canal under its own steam. Over 5,000 workers died on the construction from either disease or work-related accidents. The total cost was $375 million to build the canal.
Awesome story, Rachel. Is it weird to think that we lived in a world with no alcoholic beverages? Well, you better believe it's the truth. We have Logan Philly next with the report on Prohibition.
Thanks, Shelby. Prohibition began with temperance movements during the Civil War. Alcoholic consumption had become closely related with poverty and crime by the early 20th century, causing states to pass local prohibition laws. National prohibition did not become a foreseeable goal until World War I, when food shortages caused the government to restrict alcohol production so that grain could be used for food. Many famous criminals made a large fortune during this time by running speakeasies and other illegal criminal activities. I went undercover with a gang that everyone knows.
Friend, some of your folding money has come unstowed.
Just stuff it down that check there, will you? Grab the tiller, will you, buddy? Hand me that chopper.
Say, what line of work do you do?
Come and get me, Captain! No one can catch me! I'm George Nelson! I'm bigger than any John live or lived! I'm 10.5 feet tall! They get to the road! Cows. I hate cows worse than cappers!
Oh, George, not the livestock.
Come on! Come and get me!
Remember, Lawrence County, keep it classy. Back to you, Shelby.
Thanks, Logan. Melissa Webb is with us next with the Pullman strike, which I'm interested to hear about because many of us are unsure about what this is. Let's hear it, Melissa.
The Pullman strike of 1894 was the first national strike in United States history. Before coming to an end, it involved over 150,000 people in 27 territories. It would paralyze the nation's railway system. President Cleveland, for the first time in the nation's history, would send in federal troops. On July 3rd, federal troops entered Chicago against the governor's protests. This caused the strikers' outrage, making what had been basically a peaceful strike turn into mayhem. On July 4th, mobs set off fireworks and overturned rail cars. This strike was truly monumental if you look at some of the revenues. The railroad alone lost an estimated $685,308 in expenses. The results of the Pullman strike were both enormous and inconsequential. It was enormous because it showed the power of unions working together. The results are inconsequential because for all of the unified effort of the unions, the workers did not get their rents lowered.
Thank you, Melissa, for letting us know about the Pullman strike. This concludes our segment on major events between 1890 and 1929. I would like to thank all of the people who have contributed their stories. It is important for us to know all about the history of the country we live in. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Shelby Pigman with CBN. Join us next time. Stay classy, Lawrence County.